What's going on, family, friends, maybe a few enemies? Welcome to People's Power Lunch with Jacquie Luqman. Jacquie Luqman, the People's Prophetess, Jacquie Luqman. Welcome to the cafeteria. It is lunchtime indeed. I see everybody filing in with their lunches. Sith Lord Prince, Leah Boggs, Cynthia Rose, John Kemper. Indeed, it is lunch time. And as folks come in, take a seat, find a nice spot in the cafeteria. Don't be shy. Kamari, Dreamchild, what's going on? Don't be shy. There are no clicks here. Pull up a seat, bring your lunch. Lucy, Big Teal, hey everybody. If you're watching through Black Power Media, I hope you are. And if you are watching through Black Power Media, you should subscribe to Black Power Media. Click on the notification bell. Make sure you get notification when everyone uploads anything and everything on the channel. Yipper 99, Nawadi, Ready Revolutionary, Monty Nile, Eugene Mason, Deborah Rodriguez. Y'all got y'all lunch. Pull up a chair, pull up, pull up. Let's get our lunch on, y'all. You can also support Black Power Media on Patreon, patreon.com/Black Power Media. We really, really appreciate your support. And in the coming future, sometime in the future, we're going to have some more Patreon only content for our patrons for Black Power Media. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. Let's see who else has come in that I have not said hello to as you come in. Big Teal, I think I said hi to you. Yep, Lucy. Okay, Lucy has a sub, a nectarine, and salmon. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. Not at all. Sounds good. Sounds delicious. Um, so let's see. Ricky Ryan, woo, I was about to say, how long do I have to wait? Because I need all my family here. Ricky Ryan, what's going on? Good to see you, Eric Berkeley. Very good to see you. So glad you could join. I had so like I tweeted, I talked yesterday about a little bit about my health stuff. So I consulted with this holistic doctor who has this show on the local radio station WPFW, Dr. Theodore Watson. It's pretty renowned actually. Um, and since I had been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease last year, right before Abdus passed away, um, I had changed my diet again anyway. So I always ate a lot of vegetables. So I reduce the amount of meat that I ate. So I don't eat meat too often, maybe twice a week, and it's usually chicken. And I don't eat a whole lot of that. So I had already started doing that. So after talking to Dr. Watson yesterday, he was very happy that I had done that, and he put me on the rice diet. And as I'm looking up the rice diet, and like I'm legit expecting this man to tell me that I'm gonna have to eat like dirt and grass for the rest of my life, to control my blood pressure and get this chronic kidney disease under control. But he was like, no, you're doing pretty well, as far as your diet, but I think you can do better, and I think you need to tweak it a little bit to really get your blood pressure under control. So I'm gonna put you on the rice diet. I'm like, oh my God, what is the rice diet? I look up the rice diet, and it's basically literally just the way we eat in the rest of the world. That really just is the rice diet, with the exception of like the first phase, the first day where you have to, like the first day is just rice and fruit in on for each meal. But every other meal is really literally how everybody else around the world eats: a portion of rice, a portion of vegetables, um, that yeah, a portion, maybe grains, beans, that kind of thing. That's pretty much it. And I'm looking at this rice diet and I'm like, so this is why people around the world don't have the same kind of health issues that we do. This is why. Huh. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because I love rice and I love pasta. So I can have rice and pasta and I can eat it every day. And I'm very excited about that. So I'm very excited to see where this takes me. So Eugene, what do I think about fasting? So for people who are diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, fasting is very dangerous actually, because you have to intake calories for your kidneys to process. And if you don't eat enough, then your kidneys will start pretty much cannibalizing the protein in your muscles, which you don't want to happen. And because I was not eating regular meals, my diet has just been, my whole schedule for life has just been off the past year, after Abby's passing and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there would be days when I would not eat breakfast or lunch. And then at around 8 o'clock, it's like, oh yeah, I'm hungry and I'll, eat something for dinner. And that is very, very bad for me. So for me, fasting is the last thing I need to do. I need to eat. I need to eat 3 meals a day. But I'm doing this rice diet thing, and I can't even call it a diet. It's just yummy in my tummy. Rice and pasta and vegetables, which I love, 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 and beans. So I'm excited. I'm excited about how this is gonna work out, and I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted. So yeah, I can't. I actually can't eat black rice. The thing with chronic kidney disease is that you have to be careful about um, the phosphorus and the potassium that you intake. Meat contains the most phosphorus out of everything. So it's good that I've limited um, eh, my meat intake, but brown rice, black rice, whole wheat pasta, and whole wheat, whole grains, they contain a lot of phosphorus. So I cannot eat those. Which is, again, it makes sense that people around the world eat a bunch of white rice and yeah. So I'm, like I said, I'm so excited about the results, and it, if it doesn't work, we'll try some other stuff. But I'm pretty excited about it because I get to eat rice and pasta every day. So all right, so what's going on in the news? um how am I feeling? You know what? I'm actually feeling pretty good. I have to tell you, and thank y'all for checking on me. I have to tell you that, I'm not one of those people who, especially one of those spiritual people, because I am a person of faith. I'm not one of those spiritual people who is like, oh, too blessed to be stressed. And no, no, I'm stressed. I'm stressed. If anybody went through what I went through in the past year, if they come out talking about, oh, they're too blessed to be stressed, they lying. They are lying. You understand? The things that I've been through in the past year were terrible. They were horrible. I wouldn't. I actually would not wish these things on people I actually dislike a great deal. Um, but I think my faith has helped me sort of make sense out of some of it. Although I know I will never be able to make sense out of all of it. And this is, I think, where faith and spirituality comes in handy, where we are faced with situations that don't make sense, that are hard, that are painful, that cause us stress and grief. And spirituality is the way that we can make sense out of things that make no sense, even if that making sense is, this is beyond my control, and it is a part of an order or a plan that I'm involved in, and it's happening around me, but it's not about me, right? So that is, yeah, that is it's been a very interesting kind of journey spiritually for me too, because it's forced me to, I don't want to not humanize, but it's forced me to be very real with my faith. Not as if I wasn't before, but like, okay, here's an example. So I went to my nephrologist, who is the kidney doctor, and I was telling my nephrologist all about everything that, that happened, because it was like last year that I saw her, and she was like kind of pissed off, like, I haven't seen you in a year. And I'm like, well, I've been calling your office trying to get this kidney biopsy scheduled, because the radiology people never called me. I've done three rounds of lab tests to trigger them to call me, so they could, but they never called me. So I've been calling your office. So I, if your people didn't schedule me for an appointment, I don't know what you want me to do, because you know what, lady, I got other shit on my mind. And she was like, oh, so what's been on your mind? So I go through everything, and she just sits there, and she had a student with her, and she just sits there, and she's like, oh my Lord, I am so sorry. And the student, she's sitting there crying, I'm crying, we're all crying, and so we get through that, and I'm like, yeah, so I apologize that I haven't seen you in a year, but I so she said, yeah, I can see why the stress you're under probably created or contributed to these really bad lab results, so we're going to give it another month before we put you on dialysis and see if we can turn this around. So I'm leaving, I'm getting all my paperwork for all of my appointments and all this kind of good stuff, and the receptionist, the her assistant, says, who was not in the room when I was telling all of this, and the assistant said, it's good to see you again, and I know life, a lot of things happen in life, but it's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. Christian lady, and that's the typical kind of Christian response. And I said, oh yeah. Well, I disagree. I do think what happens to us it plays a big part in the stress and the struggles that we have. And I went down to listen. She was like, oh, uh, well, God will never leave you. You're right. I got that. I got that. Absolutely. Never leave me nor forsake me. Never seen my sin, never, the righteous will never be forsaken, never seen their seed begging bread, all that kind of stuff. Right. But stop telling people things like God will never put more on you than you could bear. First of all, that's not even in the book. That's not in the Bible. Second, that's not even true. Right? So, and if you actually read the Bible, then you get to that book of Job, then you got to be wondering, so are you serious? Job could deal with all of that? Clearly, Job could not, because Job was wilding out, practically cussing God out. Clearly, all of that Job experienced was more than he could bear. But again, this goes back to, this is where faith and spirituality comes in, because if I didn't need to believe in something more powerful than myself, then I wouldn't need to believe in something more powerful than myself. But there has to be something outside of me, above me, around me, whatever, that orders all of this. And that even when terrible things happen that make no sense to us happen, I choose to believe that those things happen not always for a reason, but those things happen as a part of a bigger design that, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to be a part of, but isn't about me. Um, because I do believe that, before we get into some real serious news talk, I do believe that my husband transitioning when he did was a part of his path. There was nothing I could have done to have altered that path. The Orishas themselves told me that. Um, and later on, a few months after that, in March, when his son died, then it made sense that there was no way he could have survived his son dying. Y'all feel me? So, for whatever reason, whatever path, whatever plans that were about him, that were his, that whatever path he was on, that was his path. But his path also included, unfortunately, his son passing away. And maybe him passing away before his son did was almost a mercy for him, because he would not have survived his first child dying. I know this for a fact. Does that make sense? Does that make logical sense? Does it make any of it feel better? Does it make my grief better? Hell no. No. But in a very strange way, when I look at these kinds of life events from that lens, it does bring a kind of comfort. Even though there is no concrete, solid sentence with a period on it explanation for all of it, there is still the sense that I am a part of something bigger than me, and that somebody's watching out for me. Somebody in all of this, somebody is watching out for me. Somebody, something, whatever, knows I'm here, sees I'm here, is watching out for me, and will carry me through these difficult times. That's the best I can explain it. People can take it and reject it, do whatever you want with it, but that's me. That's how I roll with it. So yeah, so there's all of that, um, definitely impacting my health, the stress, certainly. Struggling with depression, absolutely. Um, Sleep problems, all that kind of stuff, trying to get my weight, you know, under control, trying to get my blood pressure under control, all of these things absolutely happening. And I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, everything's fine. No, son, everything is not fine. Some days everything is okay. But yeah, this is a part of life, and this too shall pass, but it ain't gonna pass without some struggle. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. So, yeah, I know, Lucy, you opened a can of worms asking me how I feel, but there it is. There it is. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all. Um, so let's get into some news, because there's plenty to talk about. Speaking of struggle, I hope these were able to import. So I have interviewed the folks, the employees. Oh, come on. Of the Maximus call center a few times. Oh no, they didn't import. Okay, so I'm gonna have to upload those videos and pictures a little bit later. But the real cool people, the workers at the Maximus call center, came to DC for the Poor People's Campaign, and the Friday before, they held a workers' action in front of the Maximus headquarters in Tyson's Corner. So they let me know they came. They shot some video for me. gave me the video, took pictures and everything of them at the Poor People's Campaign and at the Maximus headquarters in Tyson's Corner. I've got to upload those videos, and I will make them available on Black Power Media. I'll try to have it done by tomorrow. I thought I had dropped the videos in my Google Drive from my phone, but apparently my phone and my Google Drive are not talking to each other right now. So sorry about that, but I'll have those for you soon. But let me see. So here in Washington, D.C., we talk very often about our mayor, their mayor, the developers and the cops mayor, Muriel Bowser. And who, by the way, Muriel Bowser just won the primary election here in Washington, D.C. against two challengers, Robert White and Trayon. Robert White and Trayon White, not related. They're not related to each other. So she'll be running for a third term, and she'll win because that's money. But a report was issued by the DC Office of Police Complaints, the OPC, released its fifth annual report on complaints against the Metropolitan Police Department. And I think the results of this little report are pretty important, considering the demographic shifts that we've got going on here in Washington, D.C. Oops, okay. Make sure you can see this. Read it. The report reveals more than 1,000 uses of force in 2021 out of 800 plus filed complaints. And this is the important part. The report found that 92% of the uses of force involved Black community members, compared to 4% for white and 4% for Hispanic community members. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Not really. The report found that 1,263 allegations of misconduct by DC police officers and 827 filed complaints. Harassment made up of 50% of the allegations in 2021, with language conduct being the second most reported offense, making up 24% of the allegations. Think of what this means. You minding your business, hanging out on the block, because you live in an apartment building and you don't have a nice front yard to hang out on. So you and your friends hanging out on the block, minding your business, Popo roll up, tell you and your motherfucking friends to get the fuck off the corner. No need to talk to people like that, but this is the kind of discourse that we hear coming from cops toward people, toward us, all of the time. This whole concept of officer friendly, there are no officer friendlies when it comes to us. We're disrespected out of the gate. And a lot of it starts with the way they talk to us. So yes, people do report that, and I'm glad they actually do. Although, the cops, are they going to actually effectively investigate themselves? Of course not. But it's good to see these numbers, though, I think. The 41-page report outlined data describing the leading causes of complaints in comparison to past years. The new report found that 1,042 officers reported use of force, which the OPC says is a 5% decrease from 2020, but a 64% increase from 2013, when only 636 officers reported using force. I think that number is specific, and this is actually, these numbers are cops reporting themselves. Like when they write their incident report, And they actually put in there, had to forcibly remove or, detain suspect or, whatever it was. But I think that number is significant. The 64% increase from 2013, because gentrification is rampant in this city. This is the most gentrified city in the country. And that number, the 64% increase in use of force, correlates to the prevalence of gentrifiers calling the cops on the native folks, and the cops treating native folks like criminals for dumb stuff like noise complaints. And the cops escalated to an arrest. That's where that kind of stuff comes from. Because look, I live in DC. I live in Southeast DC, and yes, there is an issue of crime, but we understand there's a bigger issue of poverty, joblessness, housing insecurity, and health issues that are unresolved. That people don't have access to quality health care. But people are not running around Southeast DC just laying hands on people and wrecking stuff and shooting up the streets. It's not the wild, wild west over here like that. It's really not. So yeah, a lot of these use of force incidents where the police are uh, um, admitting that they are using force in dealing with the mostly Black population. It's not because people are out here just committing all kinds of wild crime. It's because cops treat native Black folks in DC like criminals because the gentrifiers make us criminals. They decide to, I'm gonna call the cops on you. They criminalize our existence. So that's how we're treated. I think that's a very important number. DC cops fired a gun intentionally at a person 20 times, 18 of which involved Black men. Two incidents involved white men, and 5 community members were killed. Then here's where they talk about the report found that 92% of all uses of force involved Black community members in 2021. 4% of the uses of force involved white community members in 2021. An additional 4% involved Hispanic community members. The census data in 2021 indicates that 37.5% of DC's population identifies as white, 46% identifies as Black, 11.3% identifies as Hispanic/Latino. 46%, we're only 46% of this population, but 92% of all cop uses of forces have been against us. And of course, like I said, people will look at that and say, well, Black people commit more crime. Yeah, no. It's that our existence is criminalized by the minority population in this country, in this city. The gentrifiers, mostly white, mostly rich gentrifiers, they are in collaboration with the police. They are using the police to criminalize the existence of the people they are pushing out of this city. And the police is the way that they facilitate that. So this is a very important report. And the report also points out that most of the complaints were filed from Black community members toward Black police officers, which just really ought to destroy the idea that, all we need is more Black cops. All we need to stop abuse against Black people is more Black cops. People put their uniform on and all of a sudden they ain't Black, they blue. And they need to prove to their white brethren that they can be just as brutal to the undesirable population as, yeah, we know how that goes. So that's very interesting. And I'm going to drop that in the chat for you. And so this whole and I bet you, if any major city does a similar study, I bet you the numbers would look basically the same. Um, and we know this, right? This is not, it's not a surprise. It's just good every once in a while to see the numbers. And this is from a police department in this city that has a budget of over $600 million already. Um, and Muriel Bowser is promising to increase the police budget and hire more cops that she's just going to put in Southeast, in wards 7 and 8 with the most Black and most poor people, to keep us on the reservation or to push us off, because now they're coming over there, because all the rest of the land in the city is built up on it. It's developed. So more of that to come. And speaking of the police, if we thought that we had any can I log in? You gonna let me log in? Let's see. There we go. All right. If we thought that the Supreme Court was going to protect our rights in regard to the police, au contraire, think again. The Supreme Court just ruled that you can't sue the police for ignoring reading your Miranda rights. The Los Angeles Times reports that just earlier today, the Supreme Court shielded the police from being sued for failing to provide Miranda warnings. This is based on a case called Vega versus Tico. The justices, by a 6-3 vote, said that the only remedy for a Miranda violation is to block the use in court of a suspect's incriminating comments. The court's conservative majority described the Miranda warnings as a set of guidelines that protect the right against self-incrimination. As such, the warnings, including the right to remain silent, are not constitutional rights in themselves that could result in a separate action against the police. Samuel Alito said a violation of Miranda does not necessarily constitute a violation of the Constitution, and therefore such a violation does not constitute the deprivation of a right secured by the Constitution that would authorize a civil rights suit against a police officer. Miranda warnings do remain intact for a confession to be used in court. The warning has to be issued before the confession is administered, but come on now. We know where this is going to go. Lots more false confessions that cops will claim were issued when people were understood their Miranda rights, and just more of the police doing what they have always done, and more cover given to them now by the Supreme Court to continue to do it without any legal ramifications either. This article is behind the paywalls, but I'm hoping that you can get it. A couple of things with this. I told you ain't had no constitutional rights. The police have all the rights. I too wonder what Kamau thinks of this, and I'm definitely going to ask him. We're going to ask him about this next Tuesday, Big Teal, because I definitely want his opinion on this, being, the legal eagle of the Black Power media team. But again, I told you, we ain't got no constitutional rights. The Supreme Court keeps ruling against individual people having constitutional rights. So just get used to the fact that you don't have any constitutional rights. So the other thing, I know a lot of people will be, and they're going to say this when the court overturns Roe v. Wade, because they will. And they've said this when the court has ruled, since they've had the conservative majority, oh well, see, this is why the Supreme Court nomination was important. This is why we needed to have voted for Hillary Clinton. No. That's the wrong argument. The right argument in response to all of this is why Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have retired her old ass when she was asked to by Barack Obama years ago. And this is why Barack Obama should have forced the issue. This is not a Trump issue. Barack Obama, if the Supreme Court was so important to the Democrats, why didn't they do something about making sure that Barack Obama was able to appoint liberal judges? And I use liberal in quotation marks because let's not act like Ginsburg and Sotomayor and Kagan have not ruled too often on the side of the cops too. But if the Supreme Court was so important to the Democrats, how come they didn't make an issue out of ensuring that Obama could appoint the justices that needed to be appointed to avoid this? Nobody wants to bring that up. Everybody wants to make this about Trump. No. This is like we have said before. When Ginsburg was asked to retire, when Obama was president, she said basically, hell no, I ain't going nowhere. And look what happened. So I am, and thank you, Ricky, for pointing that out. Sonia Sotomayor just praised Clarence Thomas as someone who deeply believes in and loves the courts. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, so there's that. So again, with the next Supreme Court decision that comes, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. And put the responsibility where it actually belongs, on the Democratic Party for not forcing the issue in making sure that Ginsburg retired and the justices they preferred could have been appointed during Obama, but they ain't do it. Okay, anyway. So, all right. You know what? And three things. And third, here's the third thing. Why the hell does the Supreme Court even exist? They're not elected. 9 unelected lifetime appointees are deciding what the Constitution says and does not say about how we can be treated by the institutions that govern this country. Stop. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of the Constitution. Get rid of the Supreme Court. All of it. Gone. They don't exist to serve us. That's clear. That ought to be clear by now. You know who else doesn't exist to serve us? This one right here. Her. Just, I know this is probably going to upset some people who are very supportive of Stacey Abrams, believe she is the savior in Georgia. And I don't know what to tell you about that, if that's what you think. But this is her doing her part as a Democrat to run right. She is campaigning. First of all, she believes this because there's no way you can tweet an entire thread of this garbage if you don't believe it. But secondly, she's doing what the Democrats always do. They campaign to the right because they would rather attract those moderate Republicans who are law and order than campaign and get the votes of folks to their left. That really is so this is what you're seeing. Stacey Abrams now, let me, just in case you can't see, there we go, nice and big, so you can not miss it. This is a real tweet thread that she actually said law enforcement are often paid less than a living wage. We must raise pay for officers and address violent crime as we work to build community trust and foster law and no, no. Oh, but there's more. There's more. That's not the only one. Law enforcement in urban, suburban, and rural areas across Georgia struggle with staffing shortages that put bullshit. Higher officer pay will lead to better officer recruitment. Didn't Baltimore prove that wrong? All the overtime money the gun trace task force was making, didn't that lie of paying cops more money would make them act better? Get the but she has a plan. She has a plan. She says raise base salary for state officers to $50,000 a year, provide grants to localities to support increased salary, secure mental health support for law. We don't get it, but they do. Invest in expanded training, and we must also address the erosion of trust in law enforcement in our communities. Most officers strive to do their best. The hell they do. But those who commit misconduct must be held accountable. Oh, this is more of her plan. More, just more points in her plan. All of this. And you can read her full plan here. Oh, excuse me. Just for shits and giggles, I want to see what the replies were. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me see what what happened. Can I see what the replies were? Suddenly, I've forgotten how Twitter works today. I don't know why, but, but yes, this is the progressive hero in Georgia, and this is her idea of this is a progressive. This is what I was looking for. Some of the comments. Thank you for your honesty. Hopefully, this will inspire some true progressives to run against you, and I'll even send them money. I'm feeling that. Oh, as someone who has done retirement accounting in municipal government, I can verify police are at the top of the pay scale. And let's come on, let's look at this. U.S. police spending in the U.S. Police spending is, what is that? $731 billion. In China, which has like over 1 billion people, police spending is $261 billion. 100. Oh my God. That just ridiculous. Look at this. The U.S. spend more on police than all of these other countries. Amazing. Amazing. Oh, wait. Just amazing. Let me see what some of the other comments say. Cops solve 2% of major crime and prevent none, because that's not their job. That's not their role. Their role is not to prevent crime. Cops already take 50 to 80% of city budgets, which they use for hundreds of millions of dollars in public relations. Cops' incomes are greater than teachers' incomes. Cops kill 3 people a day. Crime was down while COVID aid and eviction moratorium were in place for people who care to look up the data. Come on now. This is why I am opposed to ever being called a progressive, because that's what progressivism has become in the United States, in this country, in regard to electoral politics. When someone is called a progressive, they're not someone who is actually a radical. They're not a socialist. They're not talking about socialist policies. They're not communists. They ain't talking about none of that. None of that. They are progressives in the political landscape. They exist to uphold the institutions of capitalism and imperialism as they exist. And they really are a prop for the Democratic Party to pander to folks and say, see, we're not neoliberals. I'm a progressive. I'm better than the old guard establishment Democrats. And then they turn around and then they either campaign on the very policies that the old guard Democrats espouse, or they support them, like the squad does in Congress. So, oh, that's Stacey Abrams. That is her campaign platform. That's one of the things she is campaigning on. Um, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. So, yeah, let's see what you all have had to say. Yes, there are quite a few replies that are pointing out the BS under her tweet. Um, it's ridiculous. Exactly. She said they deserve $50,000 a year in this economy. 50,000? No, no, no. Workers deserve that and more. Actual workers, not cops. Cops are not workers. Actual workers deserve that wage and more. Let's see. What else have you all had to say? You know what? That's a good point, Lexi B. I have to look into that if this was the first time she has ever tweeted about a living wage. Because I don't know that she has tweeted. She or any so-called progressive candidate has tweeted about a living wage. And it's messed up that the first and only time you tweet about a living wage is in regard to giving it to cops because they don't make enough money. Get the heck out of here. Oh my God. No. Mm-mm. Indeed, they are. Progressives are centrists in blackface. They look at what's his name? Uh, why am I blanking on that dude? Meeks. Yeah, look at him, Meeks. Look at even though Warnock, I don't think he has called himself a progressive, but for some reason people throw him in there as a no. You know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. Easy D. I think you're right. Gregory Meeks. That's right. Thank you, Ricky. Gregory Meeks. Ah, yeah. So, David. Oh, thank you, David, for that. Always good to see your puns. Thank you. Your pun game is strong. Yeah. So that's your progressive savior, y'all. Not at all. Um, that. And really quickly before I wrap up, because I got to get out of the way for some folks to have their briefing in this room, um, the anniversary of Title IX being signed into law is today. And Title IX was supposed to have provided equity, gender equity in sports, but little problems with Title IX still, where there is not equity in sports, women's sports, in regard to Black women. Because for girls of color, and this is ABC News reporting on this Some women's college sports like lacrosse, equestrian sports, rowing, or softball are ones they are unlikely to be exposed to in grade school. The reasons vary. No, they don't. The reasons are money. Excuse me, money. There's no equitable funding for these things in the schools where our girls attend, or boys for that matter. Um, Women now make up 44% of all NCAA athletes, compared to just 15% in 1971. According to the Women's Sports Foundation, 3.5 million high school girls play sports compared to less than 300,000 in 1972. So Title IX did improve that. But for Black women and other women of color in sports, those gains have not been equally shared, reflecting the limitations of a policy that only addresses equity on the basis of sex and gender. And when you look at administration in sports, where is it? Where is it? The statistics, there it is. Leadership in college athletic sports, even when we're talking about women's sports. 40% of the country's public high schools are segregated, serving 90% students of color or 90% white students. Let's see. Where is the other one I'm looking for? Girls, leadership. And I think there's a huge disparity in leadership, even among girls' sports, where most of the where most of the leadership position, coaches or athletic directors, are still held by men. So Title IX, it's great. It has expanded the opportunity for girls to participate in sports at the college and at the college level, but still leaves a lot of Black girls behind. And of course, the folks who are opposing transgender women competing in women's sports are using Title IX and their defense of Title IX and their defense of girls and women's sports as an excuse. But clearly that's a damn lie, because they haven't cared about the inequalities that exist in girls and women's sports, even under Title IX. So all these folks talking about they are protecting women and girls' sports from transgender people, from particularly girls, mind you, because nobody complains about transgender boys in sports. Not a soul. Not a soul. So really, all of this is a smokescreen to get rid of Title IX entirely by these folks who are running around telling you that they're defending girls' sports, girls and women's. No, they're not. No, they're not. They want to put all women on the sidelines in skirts, quiet, with our hands on our knees, or as cheerleaders for the boys. They want to do all that, and they're using transgender girls and protecting women from transgender girls as an excuse to do that. Most people don't give a damn about women's sports. If they did, they would have addressed those other issues that I just told you about that have existed in women's sports, even under Title IX. But now all of a sudden they care so much about women's sports. Get the hell out of here. No, they don't. And this whole idea of biological men competing, and the idea that men are automatically athletically have more prowess than women. Why are we even still having that argument? And why are people okay with falling back on that sexist trope to deny opportunity for one group of people while claiming you're protecting another group of people? That's all very ridiculous. Don't fall for the smoke screen, because at the end of the day, Black women are going to get caught up in this mess. And then where y'all going to be? Yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoyed your lunch. I hope that our lunch together was nutritious. I hope you're full. And I hope it carries you out throughout the rest of the day. I will not be on tomorrow. I'm going to be traveling, going to see my dad down in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I will see you guys next week. Y'all have a great week end. You be good to each other, be good to yourselves. And as always, a luta continua. The struggle continues, but Victoria acerta. Victory is certain. Peace.